Cindy, that's your period, also known as Code Red, Woman Water, Red River, Red Drum, Menstrual Cycle, Riding the Red Sea, Nature's Cockblock, Nature's Gift, Red Flag, and Aunt Flo.
What is that?
Don't worry, your period is just a cycle.
A cycle?
Yes, it shouldn't interfere with your daily life too much. In fact, it should let you do just about everything normally.
Talking! Eating! Reading! Dancing! But little does Sydney know the cycle that is coursing within her daily activity. Sydney is going through PMS, menstruation, ovulation, including foveal and luteal phases. In fact, mathematically, this is what Sydney's period looks like.
Factors and patterns of periodic change rely on amplitude, translation, period, and phase shift. The formula is y equals a sine bx minus h plus c. A stands for the amplitude, bx the period, h the phase shift, and c the translation. In relation to the menstruation cycle, finding these factors rely on phases, length cycle, menstruation length, and hormone level. Y, the independent variable, is the hormone level, estrogen or progesterone, of the cycle. Positive is estrogen, negative is progesterone. In a full cycle, a woman reaches both the foveal and luteal phases, and the amplitude and frequency of each phase is related to the length of the cycle, as well as the age and reproductive capabilities of the individual. Cindy's period does not have a translation because the hormone level of a woman would not shift up into the estrogen level or down into the progesterone level unless she had a genetic disorder. X, the dependent variable, is the length of the entire cycle, the number of days for a woman to PMS, ovulate, menstruate, and enter the foveal or luteal phases. For the period of Cindy's period, we took the days of her cycle, which is 28 days. If B equals 2 pi of the period, 28 being the length of the cycle, this would make pi 14x as the period of Cindy's period. The phase shift of Cindy's period is the number of days she spent menstruating, which is 5. With each of these variables, the equation for her period is as follows. Y equals sine of pi 14x plus 5. This is the ideal cycle, the data gathered using Cindy's ideal cycle with the full length of 28 days, 5 of which she actually menstruates. This is a table of Cindy's period. As you can see, this is the typical graph of a period. It is not likely to change, and we can predict that in the future it will remain at the same level unless affected by our sources of error, which you will hear about shortly.
Seriously? Mom, right now? Really? No, can't happen right now.
Sarah is a new college student. She is extremely overextended with her new schoolwork. In fact, the stress is beginning to affect her menstrual cycle.
Everything used to run regularly. I was always on time. But I've lost 10 pounds to the soccer team, and bio's driving me crazy, and I don't know what's going on anymore.
No worries, we know what's happening to you. You're dealing with a few of the variables and sources of error a woman's period is affected by. These are stress, dietary problems, drugs, prescription or recreational, sexual activity, pregnancy anxiety, or emotions.
What's happening to me? My period is coming so much more frequently.
This is because of your stress and emotions. Irregularity is often a problem, and it appears your period cycle has greatly increased.
Gosh darn it! My period will never be the same again! Oh!
Breathe, Sarah. We may have a solution for you. Let's take a look at the mathematics of your period.
As a stressed college student, Sarah's period is occurring much more frequently. We collected this data tracking the length of her cycle, duration of bleeding, and any affecting variables or hormone changes. With this information, Sarah's period is as follows. Y equals 2 sine of pi over 7x plus 3. The amplitude is 2 because of Sarah's stress level. It is very high, therefore her increase in regularity is twice that of the ideal cycle, which is Cindy's. Her period is pi over 7x, which is half that of the ideal cycle. This is because Sarah periods last, all phases include, 14 days. 2 pi over 14 equals pi over 7. The phase shift is 3 because that is ultimately the menstruation duration. Her period is half the length of Cindy's with a change in hormone levels. This is a table showing the data of Sarah's period. As you can see, her period is twice as frequent, happening every 14 days. This is a graph of Sarah's period. As you can see, the hormone levels are lower and her period is occurring much more frequently. This is due to her stress level. If that is to change, it'll return back to the normal cycle, which is shown as Cindy's. Now observe the two graphs together. Sarah's is noticeably more frequent due to amplitude, phase shift, and period.
Is it ever gonna come back normally? Like, seriously.
We can't exactly predict the outcome. However, your period may return to normal and then look a bit more like this cycle. That is the ideal cycle, and perhaps if you calm down and maybe see a therapist, yours can return to the ideal setting.